Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto Was Adopted by Kakashi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
The alarm woke Naruto up with its loud beeping noise as he groggily slammed his palm onto it, silencing the evil device. He had been having a nice dream involving him being Hokage and demanding that all ramen was now free. He got up and yawned as he stretched himself out. It was still dark out, and even though he went to bed early, he was still tired. He got a shower, dressed, and was about to eat when he remembered his dad's rules. That thought made him stop for a second and realized that his dad wasn't even up yet. He snuck to his room and opened the door and looked inside and frowned as his dad was still asleep. That bastard, he's playing with us, isn't he? Naruto thought to himself, knowing now his dad was going to make them wait forever before showing up so they would be tired. Well, two can play it that way, Dad. He grinned as he got a few supplies ready and laughed as he made his way to the training grounds. It looked pretty ordinary to him. Lots of trees, a wide open space, 3 logs were in the ground for what he wasn't sure, and he knew that he was close to the memorial stone as well as his father took him to see it with him now and again. He smiled seeing that his teammates were there looking just as tired and most likely as hungry as he was. Hey guys, he called out to them. Sasuke saw him and wondered why he had a backpack with him. What's with the luggage? My dad is still asleep and I know he'll keep us waiting for hours, so I decided to pay him back for not being on time like I know he's not. He smiled as he took out sealing scroll that he got for one of his birthdays. He smiled at the memory that was when his father took him camping for the weekend after his party. He had just been alone in the woods with his dad for 2 days as his dad taught him all about the forest and how to live off it. It was one of his favorite memories. He pulled it open and 3 sleeping bedrolls came out. He placed them aside and then pulled out a box and opened it to reveal some food and juice boxes. Naruto, you can't do that, it's cheating. Sakura shouted at him. Yeah. But that looks good and was so hungry and tired, maybe just a little snack and a rest. Ina, Sakura asked her counterpart. Sakura was about to protest, but then her stomach chose that moment to growl and she blushed embarrassed. Sasuke's stomach soon echoed hers, but he just turned his head and grunted, trying to play it off. Come on guys, I bet my dad did this so that we'll just be tired and hungry, and he said it only as a warning, didn't he? I mean, if we chose to eat and not throw up, then so what? He never did say you be here on time and don't sleep and don't eat or you'll fail. Naruto grinned under his mask. If there was one thing he learned from his father, it was how to look underneath and also how to work your way around things. It was hell with Iruka back in school because he had to make sure that there was no leeway in class assignments, although Naruto usually found a loophole or something, which of course Kiba and Shikamaru joined in because Kiba wanted less work and Shikamaru was naturally just lazy. Sakura and Sasuke looked at each other for a moment before the Uchiha prodigy just shrugged and took a snack and juice box and sat on one of the bedrolls. He didn't care if it was against the rules or not, but he was hungry and tired and he would take advantage of that if he could. Sakura looked a little unsure what to do and saw Naruto take some and do the same as Sasuke. She just sighed and hung her head in defeat and joined them. So how long until your father shows up? Sasuke asked him. On average he's 2 hours late for everything, so I'd say 2 hours after our timing, so I'm going to get some sleep. Naruto yawned, but then they watched as he put an apple to his mask and both teens looked in the hopes of seeing him pull down his mask. But to their amazement the apple just went through it and there was a bite out of the apple. The hell was that? Sasuke shouted at him. Huh? Naruto asked. Don't, us Naruto, Sakura said, a little angry that she had once again failed to see what was behind his mask. For years everyone tried, but only Hinata knew and she wasn't telling. She was wondering how he did it when she realized what he had done. You got a genjutsu on your mask. I thought that was your worst subject, Dobe. Sasuke said to him, knowing full well that in genjutsu he had beaten Naruto every time while he had barely passed the subject. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Hey, yeah it is, but I can do a few things, I just can't really detect them all that great and do them. It's just so complex and all that stuff, but the very simple ones I can do, and besides this is a Hatake family jutsu. Hatake jutsu? Sakura asked him, eager to know it. Yep. Naruto smiled proudly. Hatake mask illusion jutsu. We use it all the time to cover our faces and so we can eat with our masks down so people will see us with a mask. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard of. Sasuke sweat dropped at that. To think a family would go to all that trouble just to keep their faces hidden was a bit eccentric to him. Sakura did the same but was wondering if she could cancel out the jutsu, but knowing Naruto he would have placed a lot of chakra into it like he usually did. She was about to try when she noticed that he had finished the apple and it looked like he mimed pulling on a mask and there was a slight ripple over the mask. Damn it, I was so close. Sakura screamed in her head knowing that he was wearing the real one this time. We'll see what's behind that mask one day and see what's he hiding. SHANNARO. Inner Sakura yelled out, making punching movements. Team 8 training grounds. It was early in the morning and Hinata had arrived at the training grounds for her team. It was a forested area but there was a lake that was fed by a waterfall that went into a river, a few large open spaces and there was an area of tall grass as well as large rocks and boulders all over the place. It had a lot of places to hide it seemed and she wondered what their test would be. She had met up with her team yesterday as they met and got introduced to their Jonin sensei Kurenai Yuhi. She was one of the most beautiful women that she had seen and she was so strong and confident, everything that she wanted to be. Maybe if I become like her, Naruto-kun would notice me more. She thought to herself, although she didn't think she could become as beautiful as her sensei. She felt very plain and didn't really stand out. She looked just like most other Hyuga, only she had short hair. She saw Kiba and Shino were there waiting for their sensei to show up. Shino-kun, Kiba-kun, is Kurenai-sensei here yet? She asked them. No, so far it's just us, Shino said behind his high collar. Yeah, I wonder what this test is anyway. Kiba asked everyone there with a Kamaru sitting on his head as usual giving a questioning bark as well. Well, you don't have to wonder any longer, came a female's voice from out of nowhere and they looked around to see nothing but suddenly Kurenai seemed to melt into existence. The Genjutsu mistress of Konoha appeared before them with a small smile on her face seeing their reactions. They have been trained in only basic Genjutsu so something a bit more advanced would be a surprise to them all. Now then, here's your test. You have to find me and all of you better do it soon because you have until noon to finish it. If you don't find me you all fail and you'll spend one more year at the academy. She told them seriously. Since her team was a tracking team this would be the perfect way to test them to see where their skills were at. Our test is a game of hide and seek. Kiba frowned. If you want to put it that way then yes, but just remember this is no ordinary game and your futures ride on it. Kurenai smirked as she made a few hand seals and suddenly started to vanish. No problem. Akamaru, go get her scent. He commanded his puppy. He yelped as he jumped off his head and started to sniff the area she was in, but something was wrong as he barked back at him. What do you mean there's no scent? She was standing right there, how can you not smell where she was standing? She wasn't there to begin with, Shino said calmly looking around. I tried to place one of my bugs on her but it didn't see anyone there, we were under a genjutsu. Kiba hadn't even noticed that they had been under one. He suddenly felt that this was going to be a lot harder than he originally thought. Shino looked around the place. There were many places for her to hide and that was just for a regular ninja. With someone who was an expert with genjutsu it was even more difficult. But there was a way to get around this, although it would take planning, but their skills were very well suited for the task. I think we should use our strengths to try and find her. I can use my insects to search for chakra, that way if there is an illusion they'll tell me not to fall for it. Kiba, you have your nose as well as a Kamaru, so that will also help track her down. Hinata, with your eyes you should be able to find her very quickly and help guide us. With the three of us working together we should be able to find her. Shino said to them and saw that they were all speechless. Dude, that's the most I ever heard you speak in all the years I've known you, Kiba said to the other boy who just shrugged his shoulders. Team 7. Kakashi was humming to himself as he made his way to his new victims' team. He corrected himself. Although he hoped that they would pass, he would fail them if they failed his test. He was in a good mood, wondering how cold, hungry and tired they would be when he got there. He made a few hand seals and he disappeared. He appeared in a puff of smoke in front of his team. Yo, sorry I'm late, but... He trailed off seeing that they were all asleep. He sweat dropped at this since he never had this happen to him before. He saw Naruto's backpack and a ceiling scroll and a box with garbage in it of leftover food. That little... son, you're going to get it now, Kakashi said in a sour mood that his fun was ruined thanks to Naruto. He looked around and managed to find cups in Naruto's bag. He walked back to the bridge by the river that was near their training grounds and came back with 3 cups of water, 1 in his left and 2 very carefully balanced in his right. He lined them up and dropped the water onto the face of his genins. Ah, what the hell? Naruto sputtered, feeling the cold water hit his face as his teammates also shot up. He looked up to see the glare his father was giving him and he chuckled a bit nervously. Ah, hey dad. First I thought I told you to call me Kakashi-sensei, and first what is going on here? I thought I told you not to eat and sleep. He demanded. First you said to get here on time, nothing about sleeping while we waited for you, and second the eating was more advice that to take, besides you said not to eat anything in the morning so we ate later. Naruto smirked under his mask, knowing that he got one over his father. Kakashi sighed as he figured something like this would have happened, as his son was a genius at abstract thoughts for some reason. Well, it was no use crying over spilled milk, so he might as well go on to things. He pulled out his 2 bells and told them how the test was to get the bells from him. Of course, when he told them about how only 2 would pass, that got several reactions. Sasuke looked more determined than ever. Sakura looked unsure, but Naruto glared at him. That's a mean thing to do, Dad. I mean, we all worked hard to get this far and only 2 of us will pass. That's a crappy thing to do to someone. He said to him. Tough, that's the way things go sometimes, Naruto. Kakashi walked over and put an alarm clock down and set it. Now you'll have to come at me with the intent to kill, but don't worry, I can handle it. I need to properly see where all your skills are at. Also, there is a real test to this as well, but I'll leave that up to you. Just remember that a ninja must learn to look underneath the underneath. Not everything is crystal clear, and as ninjas we work with deception and illusion all the time. You'll have to learn to see past the surface in order to survive in this life. You all now have until noon to get the bells so the test starts. Now. He grinned as the 3 genins jumped away and he waited to see who would go after him first. He wasn't surprised when he felt Naruto's chakra signature not too far away, knowing that he was trying to get behind him and attack from his blind side, which was the side where he couldn't see with this eye covered. But he didn't need the eye uncovered to know that an attack was coming. He ducked the kick and jumped the sweep kick that followed. You know, you should have known that this wouldn't work, Naruto. He smirked at his father. True, but I got a few surprises for you, Dad. Just then the ground exploded as several clones came out of the ground and attacked at once. Kakashi had to admit that was a neat little opening with a distraction followed with a full-on assault, but he was handling the clones easily enough even when Naruto started to make more clones. In the forest, both Sasuke and Sakura from their places watched as the Hatakis were battling it out. Sakura watched in awe as Naruto used solid clones. She didn't know you could even make solid clones like that and was amazed at how well Naruto was using them. Sasuke admitted to himself that it was a good opening, but Naruto was doing poorly. Kakashi had even taken out a book to read while Naruto fought. This only served to anger Naruto more, as it was something that really pissed him off that his dad did. Kakashi knew all of Naruto's moves since he either taught him all his moves or spared with him enough times to know what to look out for. Although someone was wrong when all the clones held him down instead of trying to fight as one of the clones ran at him. Alright, you said come at you with the intent to kill, so you better be ready for this one. Kakashi felt someone was really wrong when he felt the chakra build up in the clone suddenly and there was no way sign of it ending. He wasn't sure what it meant at first, but he suddenly remembered something from a few years ago when he was still in ABNU about a certain Uchiha. His eye widened at what he thought Naruto couldn't possibly know. The others in the woods watched as the one Naruto clone, as soon as it touched Kakashi, exploded. There was a large puff of smoke from the other clones, but as it cleared there was nothing but scorched earth and pieces of a log that he had been used as a replacement. Damn, maybe that was a bit overkill. Naruto wondered to himself out loud. Son, we are going to have some strong words when we get home tonight, Kakashi's voice said behind him, and Naruto was looking up into the glare of his father. The next thing he knew, he was tied up and on the ground. This was another thing he hated happened to him because of his dad. He wasn't sure if his dad got the idea from Anko or not, but it would take him at least 8 minutes to get free. While he was struggling to get out, that was when Sasuke tried his luck, as he figured that Kakashi was finally too distracted to notice him. He tried for a flying kick, but Kakashi was too fast and quickly blocked it, so Sasuke twisted in midair and tried with a punch, but yet again Kakashi's other hand went out and grabbed it, but with both hands filled. Sasuke smirked, making a grab for a bell. Kakashi was surprised by the young Uchiha's advanced skills. That was the closest anyone had gotten to the bells in years. He threw the boy away and jumped back, but Sasuke was already making hand seals while in mid-air. Grand Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke yelled out as a giant flame went after Kakashi. For a moment Sasuke thought he had actually nailed him, but he heard a sound beneath him and jumped away as Kakashi came out of the ground. He landed a few feet away from Kakashi as he glared at him. That was the same move that Naruto had used on him a year ago, and he wasn't going to fall for the same move twice. What he didn't know was that Kakashi remembered how Naruto had bragged about that, and just as Sasuke landed, a shadow clone that he had made under the ground pulled Sasuke under the ground. Sasuke was livid. Not only had been so close, but he had fallen for this same damn thing twice. Kakashi went off in search of Sakura, and soon the forest was filled with the scream of a young girl. Kakashi came from the forest feeling like he had been a bit overboard. He had given the girl an image of both Naruto and Sasuke dying, and the girl had taken it pretty hard. Maybe that was a bit much for her, but she needed to see what type of thing that could happen. This wasn't an easy life after all. Team 8 Training Grounds. Kurenai had to admit this team had very good skills. For the past few hours she had been keeping ahead of the kids, but it wasn't easy. She knows bugs couldn't be fooled by a genjutsu, so she had to keep them away from her. Kiba and Akamaru had powerful ability to smell, but she had put on something earlier before the test that masked her scent just in case. Hinata was a lot harder to trick with those eyes of hers. She had to put the girl into several genjutsus just to make her think she was seeing chakra in another directions. Shino was proving to be a good tactician of the ground. He was totally logical and methodical. When it was obvious that searching differently wasn't working, he had them all change things around. Now they were searching each area in a grid pattern. Shino was leaving his bugs behind to mark the areas so she couldn't return. They were slowly boxing her in, and she couldn't be prouder. At the moment she was standing on the water of the small lake looking for a place to go. She knew the training area well, but there were only limited places to go. Hinata was looking all over the place as best she could, but it wasn't easy to punch through a genjutsu that Kurenai was able to put up. These were more powerful than anything she had ever came in contact with, and she hadn't been trained that much in using her eyes to see through them. She thought about Naruto and hoped that his team was doing well when something seemed odd. She noticed something was wrong with the lake. There were ripples on the water, but nothing was on the surface. She concentrated on the area and she could see a slight ripple in the space above the water. Shino-kun, Kiba-kun, she's on the water, Hinata said quickly. Shino was quick to act as he raised his sleeves and a swarm of his chakra-eating bugs flew out and made a circle over the lake. He slowly commanded them to close in, and soon Kurenai's image slowly came visible. She smiled at the three students at them as she raised her hands in mock surrender. All right, you found me. I'm glad that you did. You all showed true teamwork and managed to get through my test. You all should feel proud. Kiba yelled out that they had finally done it. Shino was passive as ever, but Hinata was beaming. She felt like she had finally accomplished something very big in her life. She couldn't wait to see Naruto and her other friends and tell them that she had passed. Team 7 Grounds. Naruto saw the bell on the ground near the tree and couldn't believe his luck. He gleefully ran over to it but suddenly stopped. He looked at the bell that was next to the tree and gave a small laugh as he pulled out a kunai and threw it near the bell. The rope trap was triggered and Naruto felt proud of himself for seeing the trap. Come on dad, you got to do better than that to beat R. Naruto had taken a few steps when the ground gave way and he fell into a pit. Ow. Damn it. Kakashi appeared and looked down the hole dangling the bell. Naruto, I keep telling you to look underneath. Maybe now you'll remember that lesson. I'll get you for this when I get out of here. Kakashi chuckled as he put the bell back and went off in search of the other two. So far it was turning out to be pretty fun. After Naruto got himself out of the pit, he was dirty and very pissed off. He was going to go after his dad when he came across Sasuke. He couldn't help but laugh and point. Of course that only led to Sasuke yelling at him, which of course led to Naruto yelling back at him for 5 minutes straight, and they would have been at it until Sakura, who had wakened up lost and confused as to why Naruto and Sasuke weren't dead and heard the yelling. She couldn't believe that she was seeing them and ran over to make a flying glomp at Naruto, since he was the only one she could, as Sasuke only had his head out of the ground. Naruto blushed at the close contact with Sakura, nearly in tears seeing him, and Naruto had a happy grin on his face, that is until Sasuke interrupted and broke the mood. And thanks to Sakura telling him to dig him out, he was now forced to dig the emo bastard, in Naruto's words, out of the ground again. After that the three of them made for the woods to regroup. The three genins were together when Naruto looked at them both. Okay, we're running out of time, so I have a plan, but it might not work. What sort of plan? Sakura asked him. Well, I know how we can get the bells from him, but it will take time. He formed the seal and made a shadow clone. Okay, you know what to do, right? The clone saluted and ran off, and Naruto hoped that nothing happened to it. Where did you send the clone? Sasuke asked him. Well, it's a backup in case the plan doesn't work. I just hope he can get it in time, Naruto simply said vaguely. Anyways, something seems off to me about this test. I mean, aren't we supposed to be a four-man cell like Iruka-sensei said? So why is my dad trying to take one of us out? It makes no sense, especially given that one of the things he's pounded into my head from day one was teamwork. Sakura thought about it. She had never heard of a ninja team that didn't have 3 genin in them. In fact, it was unheard of. She suddenly thought of something at that moment. The test isn't the bells, is it? It's to get them together. That's what he meant earlier about the real test, wasn't it? Naruto brightened up at that. Ha, I knew you would get it. You really are the smartest in the class. Sakura blushed at the compliment, but then frowned at how they would be able to beat him, since so far even if they did team up it wouldn't be easy. But she had a thought as she looked at Naruto. Hey Naruto, he's your father. Don't you know how he fights and what weaknesses he's got at least? Naruto scratched the back of his head nervously. Well, the only weakness that I know of is what the shadow clone is going for. I mean, other than that, if I knew of any weakness that my dad had, I would have used that years ago anyway. He can't be that good, Sasuke commented. Hey, my dad knows over 1,000 jutsus. There is a reason why he's called the copy ninja of Konoha, you know, and Kakashi of the Sharingan. What did you just say? Sasuke asked him, surprised. Naruto blinked a few times as Sasuke got in his face. What do you mean by Sharingan? You know that weird eye thing that your clan has? My dad has one. What do you think he's covering? Where did he get that? Sasuke demanded, wanting to know how his family's most sacred treasure was in the hands of someone else, and why did Kakashi only had one? There were a lot of questions he had and that Naruto should answer to him, like why Naruto had not only shadow clones but also a move that he remembered that his older brother invented. When he saw Naruto use that move, he couldn't have believed it at first where he had gotten that move from. He didn't know, but Sasuke didn't like the fact that Naruto knew a move of his brother's. We don't have time for this, Naruto told him, and Sasuke let it go, but he would save this for later. One way or another, Naruto would answer all his questions. Soon the 3 kids started to shoot around ideas on what to do. Kakashi sighed, reading his book, wondering what was going on and why the kids were taking so long. It was a bit odd, and he knew the boys at least wouldn't give up. He looked up and moved aside as a kunai impacted into the tree next to his head. He heard the snap hiss sound and jumped at the explosive note detonated. The 3 genins came at him and he had to put his book away for them. He fought them, but something was off. They weren't fighting the same way. In fact, they were fighting like Naruto. He jumped up and fired off several kunai, hitting the shadow clones that had been transformed into the team. He landed and wondered what was next. He soon found himself surrounded by an army of his genins, and he had to admit it was a good tactic. He wouldn't be able to know which one was which, but he fought on displacing clones. What he didn't know was that his team was already moving him towards their trap. Just then the real Sakura from her position in the bushes threw several of her kunai that had explosive tags on them. Kakashi was forced back into an area where Sasuke from his place in a tree fried off several shuriken with ninja wires on them. He enveloped Kakashi, tying him up as the clones came at him with a vengeance. The clones soon attacked and they lost sight of Kakashi as the clones covered him. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura jumped out from their place. All right, that had to have gotten him. Naruto shouted with a fist in the air. He dispelled the clones and he was expecting his beat-up father in the wires. What he got was an empty area. What happened? Easy enough to answer, Kakashi's voice called out from behind him as they saw him on a branch reading his book. That was never the real me. The kids couldn't help but feel down. That was their best plan, and Kakashi had used his own shadow clone the entire time. Although what they didn't know was that Kakashi had kept a shadow clone in reserve after the last break and just switched places with it. He had a feeling they had been up to something, so he wanted an ace up his sleeve. Besides, it was always a good thing to make others think you were smarter and more skilled than they thought, since that placed doubt in their minds, and doubt could kill you just like any other weapon. That was until a voice called out that sounded just like Naruto's, only far off and getting closer. I got it. Everyone looked to see another Naruto running over. He handed the real one something and the clone disappeared. Now the real Naruto looked at Kakashi and he had seen that look in his eyes before, and now he knew that Naruto had something very unpleasant in mind and he was already trying to think what he was up to. Alright Dad, here's the thing, you give us those bells or else, Naruto told him. Or else what? There isn't anything you three could do to me. I would have thought by now you would have gotten that, son, Kakashi said from his place in the tree, trying to see what Naruto was hiding behind his back. Oh really? Sasuke, you think you can burn this with some fire? Naruto pulled out a green book and Kakashi's eye went wide in surprise and fright. It was his first edition Ika Ika novels, the one he got signed by Jiraiya himself. Where did you get that? I locked up all those books. In the box that would trunk in your room, Naruto finished Kakashi's statement. Kakashi glared at the boy. He knew that teaching him lock-picking skills had been a mistake. Now he had to get new locks for that box or just a new one in general. He glared at him as he held the book up and Sasuke was starting up his hand seals. Kakashi knew he was running out of time and out of all his books Naruto just had to get his most prized one. Sasuke had just finished with the last hand seal before he spoke up. You wouldn't dare, Kakashi said, horrified at the thought of losing that book forever. It was irreplaceable since the first prints were limited and he had stood in line for hours to get that book signed. Plus it was only because that he knew him personally that he managed to get that signature as well as a peek at the new novel at the time as well that day. Try us, Naruto smirked at him holding up the book. Fine here, Kakashi sighed and tossed him the bells. When he had them he tossed the book back at him, which Kakashi held on tightly. He looked at the three of them as it was time for the final challenge. Alright, you got the bells, so which one gets to stay and who goes back? Naruto. We figured that part out, Dad. Naruto smirked as he handed Sakura and Sasuke a bell each. This was team exercise, wasn't it? Kakashi smiled and nodded. Well, I'm glad all those lessons seemed to sink in. You all came together there at the end and worked as a real team, and that's important. Your teammates are what will ensure success on a mission. You are a team for a reason. You all have your strengths and weaknesses, and because of that together you are all stronger together than ever as a single person. So congratulations, you three are the first to pass the test, although somewhat unorthodox. He glared at Naruto, and you son are in a lot of trouble. No ramen for a week for stealing my book. What? Come on, that's totally unfair. Naruto yelled out at going a full week without his beloved ramen. Kakashi crossed his arms. Tough, you know you have to ask me to read the books. You let Naruto read those filthy things. Sakura screamed at her sensei, wondering how a parent could do that. Kakashi shrugged. Well, even though he's too young for adult acts, and you better not, I'm still too young for grandkids. Naruto, shooting his son a death glare that if he even tried to go that far with a girl it would be the last time in his life. Every boy should know how to kiss a girl and how to be romantic. You'd be surprised what kind of things the books have. That was true. The books held a lot of things, including certain romance parts, and at least when Naruto came of age he would know what to do with a girl, at least in theory. Sakura was already blushing at remembering some of the parts of that day when Naruto was reading the book out loud to Sasuke. The boy himself was also trying to hide a bit of a blush. Kakashi gave a small perverted giggle at this. It would be so fun to mess with them like this. Anyways, let's eat. I bet we're all hungry by now. 3 sets of growling stomachs agreed with him. It had been one long morning for them all. It had been a day since he was made a ninja, officially after passing his dad's test, and Naruto was still excited. He had met up with the others and he was glad to see all his friends had passed the tests too. He was currently at the Hokage Tower getting his ninja picture done for the records. Well, actually it was on his 3rd photo. First he showed up with a kabuki mask, then in face paint including over his mask, and both times he was asked to retake it. He swore some people just didn't have a sense of humor, so after cleaning up he took another picture. Although the photographer thought he was pulling another one with keeping his usual mask with the orange whisker marks on it on. Thankfully, after a lot of yelling and some threatening, Naruto managed to get his picture done and was now in the Hokage's office giving him the photo. Well, I hope this works, old man, because there is no way I'm doing another. Naruto, show some respect, will you? Iruka yelled at him. Since school was out he was reassigned to the Hokage's office until the new semester started up, and he just wished that for once Naruto would learn some respect. He wasn't sure if he got that from his father or he was like that naturally. Oh come on, you know how we are, Iruka-sensei. Hell, I don't even call my dad Kakashi-sensei, Naruto told him, making the older man sigh. Besides, it's hard to respect someone who falls after one move. Naruto grinned at the Hokage's blush forming on his face as they both knew what he was talking about. The third gave a small cough to cover it up as he regained his composure. It hadn't been his proudest moment in his life and he was glad no one else had seen it happen. Although he really wished Naruto would stop using the jutsu of his, he knew that many of the female population didn't enjoy that, although he knew some of the males didn't mind. He was just glad that his student Jiraiya wasn't here to see that, since he would most likely use Naruto's female image in one of his books. What they didn't know was that there was another person just outside of the door. He had been listening to someone who had said they had defeated the Hokage, but he put that aside. It just meant that the Hokage could be defeated. He readied his weapon and ran out yelling. Everyone in the room turned to see a small boy in a skull cap, with a large scarf running at them. "Now I got you," he yelled out, only to trip and face plant on the floor as his foot caught his scarf. He whined a bit in pain as he rubbed his face. He blinked back a few tears and saw everyone was looking at him. There was the Hokage, some guy with a scar on his face, and a boy that was older than him with a black mask and in some dark and orange clothing. The third sighed. "Konohamaru, I wish you would stop these little surprise attacks of yours." "Shut up, I will beat you," he said, and looked at Naruto and pointed his finger. "You're the one that tripped me, wasn't it?" Naruto's eye twitched. If there was one thing he hated, it was being blamed for something that wasn't his fault. "Hey, it's your own stupid fault for tripping on your own damn scarf." He gripped the kid by the large scarf, trying not to smack him, but his dad always tried to teach him patience, although it was never easy for him. Just then someone else came in, a special Jonin that he met a few times from his dad's poker nights. Ebisu had been looking for Konohamaru for the past 15 minutes and had guessed he was trying another attack on his grandfather. "Hey, I know you," Naruto pointed at the man. "Don't you still owe me 50 from the last poker game my dad had?" Ebisu looked at Naruto and he knew Naruto Hatake. Every Jonin knew of the lucky card devil. He pushed up his small black shades with a finger. He cursed his luck at running into the little ninja. He had heard the rumors, of course, about how no one won a game at the Hatake home, but he didn't believe it. He still couldn't believe that the boy had beaten him and the others at nearly every hand. "Oh, Naruto, I meant to pay that," he said nervously, trying to save face as the Hokage and the grandson were looking at him now. "I'll give your father the money the next time I see him, and as for you, honorable grandson, I wish you wouldn't run off like that. How do you expect me to train you to be a great ninja if you keep running off like that? Wait, you're training the brat?" Naruto asked him, not sure if the kid was in good hands or not. He knew that his dad didn't think much of this special Jonin personally, but did respect his training ability. "Naruto, watch your mouth. This is the grandson of our Hokage and should be treated as such. Do you treat your father with the same disrespect?" Ebisu asked him, crossing his arms. Only to annoy him or to motivate him, Naruto shrugged and the adult nearly face faltered. Meanwhile, Konohamaru was listening in on the whole thing. So far the only thing he learned about this strange blonde was that he beat his grandfather somehow and beat Ebisu out of money. He wondered how the older boy could do something like that. "Hey you. If you can beat them, then I want to prove I'm better than you. If I beat you, then that means I can beat them." Naruto sighed. "I don't got the time to play, kid. I'm hungry and there's a bowl of ramen calling my name." He shrugged it off in a Kakashi-like manner. Sure, getting angry and yelling came naturally to him, but over the years he learned that you could get under someone's skin just as much, acting as Guy called it, too cool and hip attitude. He left Konohamaru there staring at the boy as he just walked by, ignoring him. That was something that no one had done to him before. He was the honorable grandson, and even though he hated the title, no one had blown him off like that before. So he made a plan to follow this genin and see what kind of skills he had and what kind of weaknesses too. And so Naruto was soon bombarded by a certain boy's attempts at stalking him, fighting him. At first it was kind of funny for Naruto. The boy was pretty bad at hiding, and his surprise attacks were pretty pathetic. Usually he messed up and it backfired on him. After a few hours of this, Naruto was finally at his breaking point. When he saw a square rock with eye holes following him, he snapped. "That's it. Look, kid, I don't know what the hell your problem is, but stop stalking me, and rocks aren't square and have big freaking eye holes." Naruto yelled at the rock that had been following him. That was when Konohamaru, in a puff of smoke, jumped out at him. "Never. I'll beat you and then I can finally beat my grandfather." He came at Naruto with a practice kunai. Those were blunted so they didn't cut a person but still stung when you hit them. Naruto just sighed and grabbed the boy's wrist and effortlessly threw him into the ground. Naruto stood over the boy, who groaned, and looked up at the masked boy. "Look, kid, why do you want to beat the old man anyway? Konohamaru got into a kneeling position, feeling a few aches from his back hitting the ground. He didn't look up at the boy, feeling like a failure at not being able to once land any kind of blow. You wouldn't understand. Try me. The boy paused for a moment and decided he had nothing to lose, he might as well get this off his chest. Everyone calls me honorable grandson, and never by my own name. No one sees me as me but just as the grandson of the Hokage. I want people to see me for me. I want to be more than just the stupid grandson. Naruto stared at the boy for a moment before he softened his deposition. Believe it or not, I know what that's like. How could you? Konohamaru asked him, looking up, wondering if the boy was just making fun of him. My father is Kakashi Hatake, one of the most famous jonins we have, so how do you think I can compete with that? So I'm not called Kakashi's kid. What Naruto didn't mention was his biological father was a Hokage too, the greatest of them all. So he had not one but two men he was in the shadow of, but that didn't dishearten his resolve to surpass them both. And I also know what it's like to be ignored and not to be seen as the person you are, he said a bit more quietly, knowing full well how some people saw him only as the fox and not as its jailer. He looked down at the young boy and he couldn't help that this kid knew some of what he had felt in his life. He was just a boy that was trying to establish his existence was more than just a name someone gave him. Konohamaru didn't see anything that said that the older boy was joking around with him. In fact, he seemed really serious about this. He slowly got up and for the first time he wondered if he had found someone that could understand what it was like to live in the Sarutobi family. Having a grandfather that was Hokage was tough, plus he rarely got to see his uncle Asuma too. He knew that his uncle and his father didn't get along that well for some reason, which sucked because Asuma was one of the few people that treated him other than the honorable grandson, which he hated. But now he might have just found someone else, and he looked at Naruto. Can you help me then? Can you help me get stronger so that people will see me for me? Naruto scratched the back of his head, not sure what to say. He could just blow the kid off, but he reminded him too much of himself to be honest. Well, I do have some free time, but what do you want me to teach you? Teach me that move you used to beat up Grandpa. He shouted out. Naruto thought about that. It wasn't something he knew you should teach a kid, but on the other hand it would be hilarious to see the old man downed again by that move, and it would help the kid stand out from his family more too. Naruto smirked under his mask at that and then nodded. Alright then, let's get started, shall we? Naruto smiled. Hot springs. Are you sure we should be doing this, boss? The young boy asked Naruto. Well, you want to learn how to make a cool henge, right? Well, you got to learn what to use for it, Naruto explained as they came to the hot springs. I mean, I used the reading material my dad reads as a start, but I needed something a bit more to get the right details on the sexy jutsu, and where better than the hot springs. So far the training hadn't been going as good as Naruto had hoped the boy could henge, but they were terrible. Then again, he was just as bad when he first started too, until he got some help with it. So after getting the basics down, it was time to work on the image, and he needed to get the kid an idea of what to look like. So they arrived at the Konoha Hot Springs. It was one of the largest ones in the Land of Fire and had a lot of business. There was nothing better for a ninja after hard training or a day's work to come here and relax. His dad had taken him here after some intense training many times, and so he knew the way around the place. They walked quietly to it, and at first he thought of using a henge to get in through the front into the women's section, but the first and last time he tried that, he ended up being beaten, and his father called in to give him a punishment for it. So this time he snuck around to the trees in the back where it was safer and easier to spot them. Okay, he knew it was perverted, but after all he needed references for the jutsu after all, but what they didn't expect was to find a man in red clothing, with sandals on and with very long white and spiky hair. The man seemed to be looking through a hole in the wall and making notes, it looked like. Hey old man, what are you doing? Naruto asked him, and the man nearly jumped. He looked at first thinking he was caught again, but sighed and then looked annoyed at the two boys. Kids, I'm busy getting some research material, go and play somewhere else, will you? He told them, going right back to his research. He had came to Konoha to report in like he did now and then to the Hokage, and decided a little detour was in order before leaving again. Naruto crossed his arms at the man. Hey, so are we? So move your old ass, Gramps. I'm trying to teach him a move of mine and he needs to know what to do. At this the old man looked at the boy with interest and grinned. Ah, so we got a couple of young perverts in training then? It's my duty to train you boys in the way of the pervert. We don't want to be trained as perverts, Naruto told him simply. We just need a little look so he can get an idea, and then we'll be on our way. Our kids today have no standards. He yelled out with tears falling down his face. Where have the younger generation gone? To think such young boys will never know the full joys of being a pervert, it's a crime against nature. Man, this guy really is a big pervert, Konohamaru said to Naruto, trying to whisper, but the old man caught it. I'm not a pervert. I'm a super pervert, he bellowed out, but that was not the brightest move he made as the entire female group in the hot springs heard it. Is someone out there? A woman's voice called out. If there is, they are dead. Another rang out. Hey you, the Hyuga woman, is there anyone there? At that the boys froze, knowing full well what that meant as the white-haired man paled. He had missed seeing a Hyuga, but then again he wasn't exactly looking at the eyes of the women. There's some old man there and 2 kids. A woman who had to be the Hyuga clan member yelled out. Crap. Run away. Naruto yelled out as they made a dash for it. He saw that Konohamaru was having trouble keeping up, and he could hear the angry yells and curses of women getting out of the hot springs and the feel of a weapon just passing his head. Apparently there had been some female ninjas that day besides the Hyuga woman too. He knew he couldn't leave Konohamaru behind, remembering what the women did to him. He didn't want the kid to go through that. Thankfully he was suddenly pulled up as someone grabbed him by the back of his black jacket as he felt himself going up and then crashing down. He felt something leathery and had bumps on it before feeling like he was going up in the air again and then crashing down. Once he gathered himself together, he looked to see that he was on what looked like a giant toad. The white-haired man was sitting on it and he saw Konohamaru on the other side. Naruto looked up at the old man, wondered just who he was and where he got the toad. He figured it was a summons, but he never seen on this big. It was bigger than even Bull, the largest dog that his dad could call up. It's times like this that making a quick getaway comes in handy. He laughed as the boys started to enjoy the toad ride. By the time they lost the angry mob of women, they slipped off the toad. At this point the man looked at the boy more closely. He was really looking at the blonde hair and blue eyes, and the mask was also something else that caught his attention. He had been too interested in his research to notice it before, but he knew the kid all right. Hey kid with the mask, what's your name? Naruto Hatake, and who are you anyway? Naruto asked him. The man smiled and began a strange dance on the giant toad. I, my boy, am the great Toad Sage, a ninja of unparalleled power and skill whose good looks make women swoon and enemies tremble in terror. I am a master of seals and the author of one of the greatest series of novels of all time. I am the Toad-san Jiraiya. Naruto and Konohamaru stared at the old man with a deadpan expression until Naruto spoke up. So you're the one that writes those books my dad loves so much? Ah, so your father is a fan then? Well then I guess you can't be all bad. Jiraiya grinned. Naruto, can we go now? Konohamaru asked him, getting a little creeped out by him. Naruto nodded his head as they turned to leave. Well anyways, see you around, Ero-sanin. Naruto said back to him as Jiraiya scowled and yelled at the boy who just laughed, running away with Konohamaru. Jiraiya watched the boy leave and grinned. He knew who Naruto was. After all, not many people had that kind of blue eyes and blonde hair. It had been a very long time since he last saw the boy. He stopped by now and then to check in on how Kakashi was raising the boy. It was hard to watch Naruto as looking at him made him think of his pride and joy, Minato. The boy was so much like him in the looks department, it was hard not to feel that pain in his chest looking at the boy. He remembered being there for Naruto's 3rd birthday, although the kid wouldn't be able to remember him, and on his 9th birthday he had watched from the shadows as he played with his friends. It was nice to see him growing up in a loving environment, and it was a good thing that he had Kakashi to take care of him. He sighed to himself as he urged the toad to the gates of the city. He still had work to do. He had found out what had happened to Itachi and the group he had joined, and that wasn't good at all. If they were gathering up the demon vessels, that meant that Naruto would be put into danger down the line, plus there were rumors that his old friend, Orochimaru, was on the move again after all this time. He had a lot of work ahead of him, but for a moment he wondered if he should stop by more often. The boy had obviously made genin as he saw what was on the black headband on his head was an indication. He thought that before he could leave, maybe look to see if he could find Kakashi first and have a talk with the man. Maybe it's time I stop running from the past, he thought to himself. The Chunin exams were a ways off, so maybe he'd show up around that time after talking with Kakashi. It might be nice to get to know the kid instead of just watching him, although I will get him back for that Ero-sanin crack. I swear I never get any respect. Later that day. Okay, let's see how that move is now, Naruto asked Konohamaru. It had been an hour since his meeting with that crazy old pervert, and now he was seeing the results of Konohamaru's training under him. The boy nodded and formed the hand seals, sexy jutsu. There was a puff of smoke and there was now a knockout of a brunette with long hair, and Naruto have to admit the illusion was very good. He was glad he knew that wasn't real, or else that would have caused a nosebleed even on him. He smiled under his mask and nodded his approval. Konohamaru reverted back and jumped for joy at this. All right, now I can use this on Gramps and beat him and prove that I can be Hokage. He shouted out. Well, true, this will beat him, Naruto said to him, but using this wouldn't mean you're Hokage material, kid. What? But if I can beat him, then I'm stronger than him, and the Hokage is supposed to be the strongest ninja. Konohamaru yelled at him. Naruto didn't say anything at first, he just walked right up to Konohamaru, who looked confused up at the boy. Idiot! Naruto yelled out and slammed his fist into the top of Konohamaru's skull, making the boy wince in pain and fall to the ground clutching his head. That's not what being Hokage means, Naruto yelled at him and got into a more serious mode. The position of Hokage is one of strength, but there's more to it. The Hokage protects this village and everyone in it, and that's why I'm going to be Hokage. I need to be stronger than I am now, so one day I can protect and defend my home and the people in it. So I can protect those precious to me like my friends and family. To be Hokage means more than just being strong, Konohamaru, and you should be Hokage for the right reasons. I want to be acknowledged as well, but I also want to protect this village even if it means my life. I would die for to protect my village and family. Can you say the same? Konohamaru looked up at the boy and his words reached him. He looked down at the ground that he was sitting on. He never thought about any of that. All he wanted was to be looked at as more than just the grandson. Remember who my father is too, Naruto said gently to the boy, although what he didn't know was that Naruto was referring to both his fathers. His adopted father Kakashi and his biological father Minato as well. I have a lot to live up to, but you know what? That just means I have to get stronger and go beyond them. I'm going to surpass them. Sure, you can lay out the old man with that move, but would it really be a defeat? It's kind of a cheap way to win. Sure, it's fun to pull for a cheap shot, but I once did that with a boy named Lee, and although I won, after it I didn't feel like I won. Because I know that in skills he was hell of a lot stronger than me, so you know what I decided. I decided to earn my wins. I don't want to resort to cheap tricks like that, so I train very hard to be as strong as I can be. I can't surpass them if I can't match them in their skills first, and neither can you. Konohamaru looked up at the boy at that point, and Naruto smiled down at him. If you really want to one day be Hokage, you have to train hard, because not only do you have to surprise the old man and protect this village, but you'll have to surpass me one day as well. Konohamaru grinned up at him and stood up. He looked into Naruto's blue eyes and he could see the determination there, and Konohamaru matched his look. Naruto could see the fire beginning to burn in the young boy's eyes, and he saw that his words had reached him. Naruto, Konohamaru said to him, thanks, and you're right. I want to be seen as strong, so I'll train hard, and one day I promise I'll beat you for Hokage. Good, I look forward to it. Naruto laughed and he looked at him as something hit him. First thing is that you're going to have to change your look. Get rid of that skull cap thing, it makes you look like a baby, and the scarf is way too long. Hey, my mom gave me this. He pouted and Naruto guessed he couldn't make him give that up. So he did the next best thing. He took off the skull cap and wrapped the scarf around the boy's face. Now his lower face was hidden behind the scarf like his was, and he smiled at the boy. Konohamaru smiled back at him. Now you look more like a ninja. He gave the boy a thumbs up. Cool, so what now, more training? Naruto shook his head. Nor actually, I was on my way to meet two friends at the park. He saw the downcast look on the boy's face and decided on something. Hey, you can come to one of my friends, is your age anyway, so it's always great to make new friends. Really? Cool, let's go then, boss. He yelled out. Alright, but don't call me boss, it just feels weird. Naruto said as they started making their way to the park. Can I call you Naruto Nizen then? The boy asked, and Naruto thought about it and nodded. He always wanted a little brother, and Konohamaru was a cool kid anyway. There you are. Ebisu jumped out of the woods that they were traveling in. Honorable grandson, I have been looking for you for hours. Where have you been, and what have you been doing, and why are you wearing your scarf like that? Man, you ask a lot of questions, Naruto said to him. I was with Naruto learning to be a ninja, Konohamaru said to him, although he did skip the whole training in the sexy jutsu technique since that didn't sound as good as training as a ninja did. Ebisu crossed his arms. Although Naruto is a genin and his father is a top-ranked jonin, I so specialize in training ninjas, and if you want to be strong I can show you how to get there quickly if you just follow my teachings. Naruto scowled at that. Hey, there's no quick way to strength, at least not true strength, that much even I know. Naruto thought back to lessons he had learned from people like Guy, his father, Lee, Anko and others. They all had to earn their place and no one had given them anything, as they had to earn what they had, so to him the easy way was never the good way to get to your goal. Ebisu pushed his shades up higher on his face. Well, be that as it may, I am a special jonin for a reason, Naruto, and I know that Konohamaru can become very strong very fast if he just sticks with my training. Naruto crossed his own arms, not liking the man's attitude. Now he understood why his dad always said that Ebisu is strong ninja but lacked a good personality. He also said something else that reminded him of something that Ebisu tried to keep hidden. He smirked dangerously as his prankster side was getting ideas already. Oh yeah, what if Konohamaru and I beat you in one move? Naruto asked him. That I would like to see very much, young Naruto. He looked to Konohamaru. Alright, I know what I said, but in cases like these they are special cases, so let's show him what I've taught you. He winked and Konohamaru sudden got what he was talking about as he grinned. They both grinned as they made the hand seals and cried out sexy jutsu. Ebisu coughed as there was a large amount of smoke, and when it cleared his brain froze. There standing there were two young looking very sexy women, a brunette and blonde with the cloud just obscuring their private parts. His jaw dropped as this was not something he had been prepared for. What are you looking at, Ebisu-kun? Don't you like us? Naruto said in his sexy girl form, giving him that cute pout look. That was it for the special jonin as he shot off, leaving a trail of blood behind. The kids transformed back and ran off laughing, leaving the man twitching on the ground with a stupid grin on his face. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.